Stuttering is a problem that affects millions of people worldwide. According to a quick Google search, about 1% of the global population struggles with it to some degree or another, and about 5% go through a stuttering phase at some point in their childhood. I have been one of those people. Though, spoiler alert, I don't stutter anymore. It is something that has greatly affected my quality of life growing up, and I'm still dealing with its effects now in my adult life as I try and pick up the pieces and build up my self-esteem. It's hard to remember exactly how it started, but the first time that I stuttered, I was around 11 and a half, and I was reading Warrior Cats to my mom, and I kept tripping up over the words. It's not that I didn't understand what I was reading, it's not that I didn't understand how to pronounce the words. I was just having trouble getting them out. And my mom noticed this and she asked me why, what was going on, and I said I didn't know. And we got kind of worried, and from there I just started stuttering very, very often. And I was just about to start middle school, and throughout my life I had always been kind of shy. It seemed to have gotten worse like every grade that I progressed through. But then as soon as I developed this stutter, it just kind of took a complete nosedive. My self-confidence took a complete nosedive, and I started middle school like that, and middle school was very, very difficult for me. I remember I was so excited about starting middle school and this new chapter of my life. It felt like I was becoming a little bit more of an adult, and I feel like there was just a lot of pressure. I felt there was just a lot of pressure to kind of grow up a little bit, and like I got all new clothes, and I don't know, I guess I just thought it would be something like, I don't know, like Mean Girls or like that book series that was like Diary of a Wimpy Kids. What was it? Like Dork Diaries. I thought it would be like that, and like, I don't know, there was just a lot of pressure there. So throughout the years, the circumstances in which I would stutter normally would kind of flip-flop. Thankfully, at first, I never really stuttered in school. It was only at home, but I was still always so afraid of stuttering in class or something. It was always just like, I was so afraid of it creeping up on me, and it made it very difficult for me to socialize and make friends and to participate in class. And I was just basically mute when I wasn't at home. I missed out on a lot of opportunities because of it, because I was always so afraid to put myself out there. My friends wanted me to join the theater club with them, and I was secretly so excited. Like, I always kind of had this secret like dream of being on stage, being in the spotlight. But when it came to that day, when they were doing the auditions, I just chickened out and I didn't go in for an audition, and I ended up operating the spotlight instead of being in it, which was still cool. Like, it was still really cool to have had that experience, working behind the scenes in theater. But it's not where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the spotlight. I didn't want to be the one working the spotlight. And in the first couple of weeks of school, this boy kind of was interested in me, and he actually asked me out through my friends. The whole thing was really weird, but without my consent, they gave me, without my consent, they gave him my phone number, and we started texting. And I was just like so happy. Like I remember I was just rolling around on my Nana's carpet, just like so happy and texting him, just like, like first time being in love. But when it came time to go to school the next day, I just could not even look him in the eye. My friends were literally throwing me at him, and I could not even say a word because I was so afraid of messing up my words. I was just so afraid of speaking to him. And about a week went by, and he would always try and talk to me in the hallway, and I would just kind of like be so shy and like just like kind of nod my head or like give a short little response to whatever he was saying. But I think he was very confused, and he ended up again through my friends just breaking up with me. That was the end of that. But it's okay because just thinking about like middle schoolers dating nowadays, it's just really weird to me. Like my younger brother is in middle school right now. He just started middle school, and they just look like babies to me. Like, so I am so glad that I did not start dating until I was like college age. So yeah, I just kind of missed out on a lot of opportunities and experiences because I was so afraid of opening my mouth and speaking. And I was not very good at speaking when I had to because of it. Just, I feel like to this day, like I can write pretty well and, have clear thoughts, but then when I go to speak to somebody, it's so much less advanced. And I really never developed those public speaking skills because I was so mute. Um, yeah. So the first time that I stuttered in school was probably the worst stutter I have ever had in my entire life. My friends and I were doing a presentation in our health class. It was something about like nutrition. Like I remember we were just talking about like fruits and vegetables or something. And it came to my part, and let's just say I went to go say the word vegetable. So I just kind of went to say the word, and it came out like veg, 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 veg. And I just could not get the word out for the life of me. And I just stood there, just struggling with that. And everybody was looking at me like, nobody was like, like giving me like weird faces or anything. Honestly, they all just looked really concerned. But still, it was just humiliating. And eventually the teacher stepped in and had somebody else finish my part for me, and I ended up just crying. And it was so humiliating. The entire thing was so humiliating. And from then on, I stuttered pretty often in school, and it was a real challenge. Um, So I was just going through school trying to get through it, and eventually my mom started me in this speech therapy. And side note, I'm just so thankful for my mom and all the research that she did throughout this time. to just try and figure out what was going on and what could have caused my stuttering and how we could try and help me to deal with it and to get better. But so I started this speech therapy program. It was at a college in my area, and it was actually a student who was my therapist. And honestly, I don't really remember too much about what we did, but we worked on little exercises and methods to kind of help me either avoid my stutter, to mask it, or to just kind of plow through it. I'm trying to remember what they were, but again, it's been so long since I've even stuttered that I don't really remember all of them. But so if I was having a block, we would work on kind of rolling through the words. So let's say I was stuttering on the word microphone, and I would just go, microphone, and to kind of fix that, I could try and kind of roll through the words. So microphone, just kind of it's so hard to explain, but it's kind of hard to explain, but just kind of rolling through it. And also speaking in an accent, I remember was one of them, and I would try and do that a little bit, which is fun. It's it makes it fun to speak. And then also speaking in a slightly breathier voice can help, because it's less harsh, I guess, and it's all flowy, and that has been known to kind of help. And Marilyn Monroe was said to have stuttered earlier in her career, and she developed this kind of breathy sort of voice to help her not stutter on her lines. I don't really remember how long I was in this program, but and I don't really know how much it helped. It was nice to just have a space to talk about my stutter and to work on trying to and just work on exercises to try and help me. I also was involved in these tests. So they strapped this cap to my head that had all these wires coming out of it, and they kind of clipped it to my hair, and it really hurt my hair. And they just had me reading from a screen or answering these prompts from a screen, and they were analyzing my brain waves and what was going on in my brain as I was talking. And that was pretty cool. I got a little gift card. So if you are a stutterer, I would highly recommend finding programs like that. The one that I did was just at another college in my area, and yeah, it's just, there isn't a whole lot of research out there on stuttering. So if you are a stutterer, just would be very helpful to kind of progress the research on this, so we could help more people. So middle school was just pretty much a misery for me. That was definitely the worst of my stuttering, was when I was in middle school. It was just terrible. That's all I can really say about it. But when I started getting into high school, I feel like I had been dealing with this for a couple of years now, and I was starting to figure out, what worked for me and how to deal with it. And never really got bullied for it all that much, and I never really was given much of a hard time for my stutter, thankfully. But there was this one time that I remember when I started high school. It was my first time in Catholic school, and my mom and I were helping out with their little events at the beginning of the school year. And I remember I had to go ask one of the nuns for something like tape or whatever, and she was also the principal of the school, and I ended up having a little bit of a block in front of her, and I just remember her just giving me this face like what the heck is wrong with you, and that just I don't know. It's just humiliating. like now I feel like it wouldn't bother me, but back then, oh my gosh, I was just almost in tears because I just felt so weird and like a spectacle because of it. And yeah. uh but honestly, I don't really have much to say about high school other than I started doing theater again, and this time I was helping out with doing all kinds of backstage stuff, and I was helping sorry. I was doing all kinds of backstage stuff, and I'm an artist, so I helped paint the sets and stuff like that. For their one children's play, for the Velveteen Rabbit, they couldn't find somebody to play Timothy the Lion. So I was kind of short. I'm 5 foot, and they were just like, "Hey, do you think you can step in to play Timothy the Lion?" And I said, "Sure." So that was my first time acting on stage, and despite my face in these pictures, because it was so hot, it was so ungodly hot in that polyester lion costume, but I loved it. And from then on, I started acting with them. And I did Funny Girl and this Halloween play called Halloween Screams, and I did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and which is my favorite play musical ever, and I was so happy to be a part of that. I mostly got just smaller roles and singing in the ensemble, but I was so happy doing it. I was so happy being on stage, and one thing that is so amazing is that I never stuttered on stage, which was just brilliant, and I just loved being up there. So then it came to my junior year in high school, I think. It was either my junior or my senior year, and my mom saw this advertisement from another theater in the area who needed somebody to play this Spanish-speaking character. And Spanish was my favorite subject in high school. I just loved Spanish, and I also didn't stutter when I spoke Spanish either. That's actually a thing. A lot of people don't stutter in when they're speaking a different language. So I just thought, wow, this would be great to have this Spanish-speaking role on stage, and we went to the audition, and I don't know why I even mentioned it. I guess I was just telling the director a little bit about myself, and I mentioned that I stuttered, but I did not stutter on stage. And she was like, "Wow, great. That's so amazing." And So then I went to say my lines. I went to go read off the lines, and for whatever reason, I just could not get one single sentence out without stuttering. Like one single word out without stuttering. Like I was a mess. Um, and I guess it was all because I had mentioned that, and I had kind of put pressure on that. And then she gave me the role. It was actually me and this other girl who had gotten the role, and in half the nights I would play the character, and then the other nights she would play the character. And so then during our rehearsals, I continued to stutter in this role, and it was just so painful. It was so painful because I just was stuttering everywhere, all over the place. Like it was just a mess. And just in general, like that whole thing was just so weird. Like it seemed like everybody had their own little issue going on. Like there was this one girl there who, whenever the director would just give her the slightest little correction on what she was doing, she would get so upset and like start crying, and like she would run off stage just crying. And then there was a guy who, he was also like the main character. He couldn't read, and he had to have his gay boyfriend or husband read his lines for him. And then there was another guy who just, he was kind of weird, and like he like thought he was like James Bond or something, but he was just like really pretentious and like nobody can tell me what to do. And then like there was another lady who, she was just like kind of like snobby. And then there was little old me who was just a mess and just stuttering everywhere. And the other girl who played the same character, that didn't seem, she seemed like she was the only normal one. But yeah, so it was a very, very stressful environment. Um, and the one night, the director, I don't know what happened, but she just all of a sudden, she just like clutched her heart, and she just started like sinking to the ground, and everybody was like, oh my god, what's going on? Um, and I guess like she had like some kind of like little mini stroke or something. I don't know what happened, but she was fine afterwards, thankfully. But that just like goes to show just how stressful this environment was. And that night, my mom picked me up, and in the car, I remember I just broke down. Like I was I was just so frustrated. I ended up like just like screaming into my hands. I remember, and it was just awful. And we decided, because I was already at the same time like doing another play, um, and with school at the same time, it was just too much for me to have all these roles at the same time, because in my other play actually I was doing multiple roles. So it was just way too much, and we decided to pull me out of that play, especially since there was that other girl who was playing the role with me, so she could take over um, the role completely. But yeah, it was just a mess. I am just filming this on my phone really quickly because I forgot to talk about something that I feel was, wait, where's the camera? Is it right there? Because I feel like it's really important, of something that I just thought really helped me to get better, and that was finding some kind of passion. something that I was so passionate about, it just made me forget about everything else, including my stutter, and that was dancing. So this wasn't really like a social thing for me. I just did it on my own, in my mom's basement on that really hard concrete floor. But I was so passionate about it, like all of a sudden I just got into dancing and I loved it. And it just made me so happy, and it was all that I could think about all day in school and at home, and like that really helps me. So just finding some kind of passion like that, I feel could be really great to help you to get through it, and to get through anything like that, like anxiety. It definitely also helped with my anxiety as well and my depression, and I just wanted to mention that. So I finished high school and I went on to college for a little bit, and then I dropped out. And honestly, I just was fed up with my stutter. I was fed up with stuttering, and I just gave up. I just was so done with it. I stopped caring about it at all. And I just decided, like, this is just what I do. This is just what I do when I talk, and I'm not gonna care anymore. And I'm just gonna bulldoze through it. I'm gonna bulldoze through speaking, and I don't care anymore. And I just stopped worrying about my stutter. I didn't notice it anymore. And it got to the point where just a couple months ago, I noticed that I don't really stutter anymore. And I don't know how that happened. And I guess I don't want to say it's because I just got over it. Because that's not really the whole of the issue. Like, you can't just tell somebody, oh, just get over it. But that seems to have been what helped me the most, was just not caring at all. Because most people will tell you that they don't even notice when you stutter. Like, probably except when you have like a big block. But most of the stuttering, like the ba 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 ba, like that kind of stuttering, just like small blocks, people don't normally notice it, and that's always the feedback that I've gotten. Like, whenever I have told somebody that I stuttered, they were always like, "Oh, I didn't even notice." And maybe they were just saying that to make me feel better. But I think most people, they genuinely just they don't notice, because normal people do just stutter sometimes. Like, even though I say I don't stutter anymore, like I do still like just stutter normally. But it's like it's not like a giant problem for me anymore. Not even like a little problem for me anymore. It's just it's not an issue. And I want to make another video talking about, like, going more in depth into what I think really helped me, what I think happened that led to me not stuttering anymore. But I wanted to do a little bit more research and read completely the book that actually inspired this series that I'm making, which is Stuttering and Anxiety Self-Cures, What 100 Plus People with Stutters Taught Me, by Lee G. Lovett. And I just picked up this book recently because I don't know, I just wanted to read it. I never read it when I was stuttering. It was gifted to me for Christmas or for my birthday the one year, and I probably picked it up and flipped through it a little bit, but I never actually really read it. And when I started reading it a couple months ago, I realized, wait, this makes so much sense. What he's talking about in here is what happened to me, is what essentially I think what cured me. And so I really want to dive deep into this book and make a really well thought out video about my theory about what I think helped me stop stuttering. So do I think that you, my fellow stutterer, will have the same story as me, will have the same experiences as me? I don't know, because everybody is different, but I hope to God that you will get over this and not have to deal with this problem anymore and just be free to live your life and not have to worry about your speech anymore. When I was in high school, my brother started stuttering as well, and he started stuttering at pretty much the exact same age that I started, around 11 and a half to 12 years old, which is very, very interesting. And it was very difficult to watch him go through the same thing that I went through, and I feel for boys it's even harder because I just feel like there's, like with girls, I feel like it can be kind of cute and people just go, "Aw," like it's just a cute thing. But with guys, I feel it is like there's just so much pressure there's just so much more pressure to be self-assured and like just, you know, this big macho guy, and when a man has a stutter, it's just like I feel like it opens the door for so much more bullying. And I just remember him getting so incredibly angry, so frustrated with himself, and it was just very, very hard to watch. But it was nice in a way to kind of have somebody else to go through that with, and I feel it definitely brought us closer together. So my brother throughout the years has been getting better with his stutter as well. He said it's like kind of like it goes up and down. He has good times and he has bad times with it. He's still on his journey to he's still on his journey with it. So I just really hope that this video was somewhat entertaining, and I just really hope it helps somebody who may be going through stuttering or anxiety or anything, any kind of speech problem, feel not alone in their struggles. And I just want to be a little bit of a light and hope for anyone who stutters, that this doesn't have to last forever and you may get better in the future. And I just really, really hope that you do, and you never have to worry about this ever again, because it is just so freeing to not have to deal with it anymore. Like, I still have social anxiety that I'm trying to work on and get through, but it is just such a relief to not have to worry about my speech anymore. And I am just so thankful for that. So with that, I think I'm just going to leave this video here, and I will see you in part 2 of my little stuttering series. So bye!
That's all, folks.